The Kitchen Table Incension Podcast, brought to you by the Bibi blog. Are we fully human yet?
All right, Niish, take us down to the table. Oh my God, we've waited 2 months to connect. I'm Bibi and I'm here with Niish and JJ. Welcome to The Cauldron is on the table. Oh my God. Hello, ladies. How are you?
Hello, Bibi. Doing well. How are you, Bibi?
I'm good. It's been a very, 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 very extremely intense 8 weeks since we last connected. And I'm just going to briefly go down the line and turn it over to you guys. I am a continuing new student of evolutionary astrology. I'm now doing a storytelling workshop. And these two aspects of my life, I've waited all this time to bring these things together. I don't know where it's going. Other than that, it's going into an eventual expression that I'm going to take on the road somehow, some way. And the most important thing for me is that I feel that I have gone through a completion of grieving the death of my daughter. And when I say that, I'm not meaning her physical death. I'm speaking of her core personality. And those of you who don't know, she has schizoaffective disorder. So that that's been quite a journey. But all in all, life is good. It's been raining today. It's clear and dry and beautiful, and I'm sitting outside. And with that, JJ, you're in Cape Cod right now. What's going on?
Well, I'm finally here, which is exciting. I've been traveling a lot, all over the place, and I sort of officially moved in here a few weeks ago, but now I'm here, and there's a storm here now, and I'm just happy to finally get settled. I don't know if you can hear me. I feel like you lost me. But anyway.
Yeah, you're loud and clear.
Okay, good. Sorry, it was completely silent. Okay. Yeah, so there's a bit of a crazy storm going on, but it's clearing out. So it's nice to have some peace and quiet. I've been in Manhattan for the past, I guess close to 15 months or whatever it's been. And it's very nice to have some quiet and actually hear some real wind blowing, and seen quite a bit of ravens or crows today.
Ooh.
And get to see some nature. And oh my god, I'm just trying to catch my breath. It feels like it's just been nonstop for forever, but the last few months, and specifically, November. I thought September was crazy. October was quite busy, and this November was just, I don't think I've ever used my phone calendar and reminders so much in my life. Like on an hourly basis, I had to really keep on top of myself there. So anyway, there's just been, please help me. Ask me a question. I don't even know. I'm just still trying to I don't even know. I've got to learn to decompress. I can't even believe I'm in this lovely new little mermaid. I'm in an apartment that's like a winter rental, and it's mermaid themed, and it's lovely, and
That's wonderful.
Absolutely thrilled to be here, and I'm trying to decompress because I don't know how to.
Well, you are just by being there and speaking right now, and it's a process, right? It is. So take a big deep breath, honey. I'm sending you this big embrace. It just feels so good.
Thank you.
To connect. It truly does. And Niish, let's give JJ some breaths, and I want to know, bring us into your world, baby.
Well, I'd like to, can you hear me?
Yeah, perfectly.
I actually have a couple questions for JJ. So there's been...
Sure.
JJ's, of course, you both are Jay's sister. So we are in contact. And I know, and this will tie into some of the stuff I'm going to bring forward later. But I am definitely saw why it was important to get out of Manhattan. And so I applaud you, JJ, in making that happen for many, many, many reasons. But one of the reasons is significant on my end, looking in. But there was some fascinating stuff that you brought forward, and I think on Twitter, with was it your uncle being knighted by the Pope?
Yes.
Oh God, that was fabulous. Yeah.
Girl, tell us a little bit about that. I mean, we already know you have the full bases background and all the stuff that ties into all the woo, but this just really put a crown on top of it.
It was recently, on the 25th of November was my mother's 75th birthday. So I flew out to Arizona, where my parents now reside, to celebrate that with my family. And we were going through like ancestry stuff, and her side of the family, well, both my mom and dad's side, there's a lot of mystery, a lot of like secrets on both sides for whatever weird reasons. I don't know. Nobody can seem to piece anything together, but people have been digging, and I've been digging. And anyway, a cousin of my mother's had put together quite a bit of history on her side. And anyway, her uncle, my great uncle, who I had met early in childhood, had apparently been knighted by the Pope, and he had quite a bit of military history, service in the military in World War II, and he had gone to Seton Hall, and he had like 3 masters. And I met the guy. He was like really just an amazing, kind, well-loved man. And he also taught at the local high school, and he was a guidance counselor, and quite an interesting man. And lived with my grandmother had 11 other siblings, and he was one of them, and a bunch of them lived in a very large house together, well into their older years. And he was one of them who lived he lived up in the kind of walk-in attic room, and it was painted pink and had lovely china and antiques. And
ooh, it sounds cute. Yes. I love all that.
Yeah, it was, I didn't get to, unfortunately, know him too well. But I knew, I did meet him on a fair amount of occasions when I was younger. and always thought he was a cool guy. And I was just really thrilled to find out that he was knighted by the Pope and had quite a few awards and accolades and whatever. And I don't know. I find it very interesting.
This is why. So for people that may not know these things about you, and some of this came out when you're on Nox Mente, and it. First of all, I'm sure Bibi could cut this out if she needs to. But are you comfortable?
Oh, it's fascinating. Keep going, please.
Well, I just want to make sure JJ's comfortable with this line of query.
Yeah, it's fine. And I'm sorry if I'm babbling. I'm a little off center today, but go ahead.
Honey, you've got us. We're good.
Oh yeah.
we can steer the boat. But so what I find super significant about this, and the more you've been digging into your background, is this deep connection to the whole basis thing, and all that is entailed with this kind of secret underground or secret side of the government, right?
Right. That's true.
Of course, it's speculative, but at this point, all of us are having to throw dots together and make connections. You are a standout person with very interesting things that happen around you, and memories that are suspect, and then certain trigger points like the white rabbit and all this stuff's significant. And as we dig into our past and we start finding out these things and tracking them back to locations and people and proximity towards some of the now not conspiratorial stuff that's gone on, you seem to be deeply rooted in all this. And this is just another sign of that, another more evidence, in my opinion. This is just my opinion looking in.
How do you feel about that, JJ?
No, I mean, I agree. It's especially doing quite a bit of my own research lately in the last several months. There's more than speculative. I've found quite a bit of things that tie me into secret society stuff, and it's just, I don't know. I mean, things are piecing together. How do I feel about it? It just, it is starting to make a lot of sense about strange memories and dreams I have as a child. And I do want to do some sort of regression. I need to find the right person. I'm not looking for any sort of quote unquote pedigreed therapist or whatever, but I do want
the right person
to do some sort of like regression with, because there are several childhood memories and dreams and whatnot that I want to kind of go back through and try to see if I can shed some light on and understand what the hell happened. Yeah, there's some weirdness. So, but I'm not sure what to think or feel about it yet. But
well,
it definitely makes sense. I do feel. Well, go ahead with what you were going to say. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off, but what I was going to say is that anytime we can give meaning to experiences that have been bewildering, off-putting, whatever, that, plague in a certain way, are a source of discomfort in a certain way. And this may sound strange, but as an adoptee, I feel a little bit jealous that you can go into your ancestry. Not that I can't. It's just a huge, big deal. I'd have to hire a detective and all of that. But I appreciate very much that you have this legacy It's yours. That's in your DNA that you're connected to that way. That's so rich and wonderful.
Yeah,
And
I can imagine.
Yeah, I completely support you getting someone who can, of great integrity and skill and gifts, who can guide you through a process of recovery.
There's also, with JJ, there's also people around her know this. There's, as with a lot of us that have these types of backgrounds, there's something different. And the world, in a way, forms around the ether, in a way, forms around that something different, where people notice it in her, and
right.
And this sometimes, as we learn, and anyone that's understanding this stuff and following this stuff, as we learn, as we get older and we start piecing this stuff together, it becomes more evident, and the deeper we start to accept this idea that the world's not the way we're told it is, that there is a construct woven around us, then we're able to look deeper into the void. And by looking deeper into the void, I think that cues the collective, because, as they say, you look into the void, it looks back. Well, that's the collective. That's the ether around us. And it is sentient. The zeitgeist thing, right? It's its own sentience. And it can feel crazy sometimes when we're first starting to vocalize these things out loud, and it can't, even though internally it's not. Internally, something is different, and internally, when you start questioning, why is this something different? What is this something different? And when you get the feedback from people close in that also see this about yourself, I'm just giving my example, but I'm throwing it upon JJ because I have a sense that there's similarities, that it behooves us to dig deeper, and without fear, and without an idea of, and I say the idea in the thought form sense, an idea of paranoia. And this is the problem, and this is also the idea that can overwhelm one, is it's not just directly about you. There's a whole wave of us, and this is where the whole mental snap can happen, when you're bearing the weight of it yourself, and it's all happening to me. And so and so this is what I applaud with you, JJ, is that you're you always crack when I say JJ. Anyway, I love it so much. I love saying JJ. And
I love when you say it.
It just rolls off the tongue like that. So, but I have found it. All the people I've talked to, and so many, and so many credible people, that there's something extraordinary about you, JJ. So I'm not in third person you out, about you. And there's something extra that's gone on. And so as these pieces have come together, I am just as involved in the excitement of putting them together, and then the oh my part. Oh my, oh, really? The Pope knighted him. Okay. This is another gigantic, real significant piece here. And so, that's why I just wanted to bring that up. And
thank you. Yeah, I'll have to fill you in the other dinner time discussions on all the other characters. But we won't get into that now.
Yeah, but that was juicy, and that just came out amongst all this craziness of getting out of New York. Manhattan. It's not New York. Yes. Upstate's great. It's the big cities, Manhattan. People. Yeah.
Yeah, and I really felt that was extremely important for me to get out of there. And I definitely had a deadline for myself to have it in place, ready to go. And the end of November was my absolute deadline. And I moved November 13th. I went back for a quick stint to see a concert and grab little odds and ends and take care of a few things. And I was out before, so very happy to be out of there.
Yeah, that's huge. Congratulations. That's so huge. Yes.
Thank you.
And so I have one more follow-up question on this, because it's going to this ties into what I'm bringing to our table today.
Yeah.
So in your experience in the last, say, 6 months in Manhattan, so this can cover dreamland, this can cover your actual psychic abilities to see or hear or feel, all that, to know. Have you seen shifting within the zeitgeist, within the collective there, as far as entities or strange behaviors or energetic shifts? What have you noticed?
Oh, yeah, I definitely saw people getting more and more agitated, and the energy definitely, oh goodness. I mean, I'm trying to think of, there was a specific time. Well, there was definitely in July when we had those Transformers blow, where you actually messaged me if I was okay, and I was
yes. Well, there you are in the news, and Manhattan's gone dark.
You were like, "Are you okay?" I was like, "Why? Can you feel how crazy I am right now?" I didn't even know what was going on, and I was just like completely nuts, and I didn't even know we were having a power outage. It was just hot, and the subways were just unusually screwy. I'm like, why is it taking half an hour for, I was just nuts. And then I gave up and went up to the street level, and there was just sirens in every direction. And it was like above and beyond normal Saturday night craziness. It was really like starting to heat up then around, people were calling it the meat grinder or whatever. I don't know what term, but that was what people were saying. And I noticed it then was really when it was starting to amp up.
Quick question.
Go ahead.
Are there any, have they found out any underlying reasons for those transformers blowing? Or is there anything being put out there?
I'm not aware of any, follow-up to that.
Just curious.
I still personally think it was something to do with either some sort of something that had to be done in the cover of darkness, or like a covert operation. I really felt like it had something to do with 5G, but it could have been a multitude of things that needed to be hidden in darkness. Who knows? But that's what I'm getting out of it. And I was back and forth between Massachusetts and Manhattan for the last several months, and every time I was going back into Manhattan from Massachusetts, I could feel it in myself. I was just tensing up, oh God, just dread. Like I could feel the tense energy. It was just more than ever. And I've been around New York City for, I've been at least working in the city for the last few decades. And honestly, I've never felt anything like it. And I've seen some weird changes in people. in their eyes and, strange things out of the corners of my eyes, like sort of shadowy little scurrying things, or even, people, I don't know, just humanoid looking, or just, I don't know. I'm not going to call them shadow people, but the size of people. Strange, just anomalous audio and visual things going on. Changes in the lighting. And also I have to say, I don't know what's going on, but I noticed they're using this strange ambulance siren that's normally specific to Europe. So it's that, I don't know what but they've been using that more in New York City. It's sort of a weird wartime.
We have that here in LA too. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know when that started, but that is not something that was common until recent times. I'm not sure what that's all about. Anyway, I've just had many dreams about, it's been going on for a while. I've been having dreams and visions about a virus in New York specifically. I mean, everywhere, but like it being just all over the buildings. You could see it. It looks very much like octopi, like tentacles, little creepy crawly things just all over the buildings. And I don't know. I just knew that I had to get out of the city. I really felt like it was just an extreme hot spot for some major something to go down. So
I'm so happy you're out of there. Oh, God,
me too. And this has been going on for a while. It's not, I mean, I guess I don't, like I said, I don't listen to a lot of podcasts or watch a lot of YouTube stuff, or I try to not, I do like to keep current on these things, but I try not to listen to too much or watch too much to get too influenced by these things. So I don't know what everybody's been talking about. I've seen and heard a little bit here and there, but I've been seeing this stuff for quite some time now in dreams and visions, and just, so I don't know, but that's what I've been seeing and feeling for a while. And
but it's amping is where I'm trying to get at.
Yes, and yeah, I agree. So I really felt like I had to just get out of as far away from New York City as I could, and somehow this opportunity opened up, and now I'm way up on Cape Cod. And I'm happy about it.
Thankfully, I'm happy about it too. I've been on you. Girl, if you can get out.
Yeah. So I've done it successfully, and I feel like just the energy I just feel very safe and a lot calmer where I am. So anyway, that's what's happening in my world. What's happening in yours?
Thank you for that, and I'm glad that you feel comfortable sharing some of this. It means it. I think in the bigger picture, the stronger we are and the more fearless we are in actually really talking about this stuff, the greater the service is we're doing. And it's a big deal. It's a very big deal.
It's my pleasure. I would, I mean, I could go on. I have lots of things, but I don't want to take. There's the two of you, and I want you guys to get to talk too. So
I'm going to pass this over to Bibi for just a minute because I'm doing critical care in this house because of something.
I understand
something that happened. So I'll just be back in a few minutes, like maybe a minute.
Okay, take your time. Do whatever you have to do. It's so good, JJ, to hear you say that you're not spending an inordinate amount of time. It's so easy to get addicted to people talking about this stuff. And coming from you, knowing your gifts and your deep psychic abilities, I mean, it's very powerful. It's very strong. And I'd like to add from my own perspective, up here on the mountain, I have not been interacting with anybody in Los Angeles other than strangers that I meet at the grocery store. And when I go for a walk, I'm that far enough away that I can go for a walk and not encounter anyone except animals and birds.
Oh,
and,
that's great.
I love it up here. And it's, if anything, it's more clear and peaceful than it ever has been in my connection with the earth and with the beings. Not that the earth isn't a being. All of the beings is becoming amped up in that way. But on the other hand, the idea of going to some kind of an event in the city itself, I feel that feeling of contraction. Like, no, I do not want to enter into that energy. I really don't. But I'm grateful that I do feel this sense of peace. And I've been doing a lot of contemplation on how the outer is the mirror, right?
Yeah.
And it's really, really profound. I'm not even going to go there because that's a whole conversation in and of itself. But I think for me, one of I feel this sense of having passed through something huge regarding energetically and going through a period of real profound grief. And there's just an upliftment that's going on. And even like if I think, where are my hummingbirds? All of a sudden, if I'm sitting outside, I have this little gazebo. There's a hummingbird in real space right there. And as if in answer, yes, it's we're one, we're here, we are you and you are us. And there's that feeling. So I'm experiencing lately a feeling of unity and wonder at everything. And I'm also aware of all of these people around me in the city who are suffering. There's so much suffering, and this is not just in Los Angeles, it's in the entire world. And I wonder energetically, I'll share that I had a dream where I saw 2027 as a real turning point. And the turning point, there's so many things I can read into it, but that is a year marker for the DNA, for the matrix. Oh, yesterday I was meditating and I had this very clear vision. There were these beautiful, glowing, deep red little balls, tiny little balls, like it was a matrix. But then the words Indra's net came into my head. Niish is back. Hi, sweetie.
I love this word. Yeah, I've been back for a second. I love this word, Indra's net.
Yeah. And Indra is one of the iterations of the god of death. Mm-hmm. And Indra in the Hindu pantheon is the god of death. And I've been doing a lot of contemplation on Pluto. And as Niish and JJ know, I cotton to Pluto. There's a lot of fear around Pluto. And I understand that because of there's an intensity. There are, if you don't have these underworld shadow issues, if you're in denial about them, they can really come out to bite you. And that's the darker side of Pluto. But if you allow to begin with, and then embrace, the first thing is to accept. Then you allow it, and then if you can actually embrace it, it can be wondrous. And with that, now that Niish is back, I wanna turn it over to you.
Oh, thank you, darling. First of all, I'm so happy to be here. I love you both so much, and I love these conversations. Like I said, I feel they're so important for other people, which is why we're doing this. So with that said, I also, just as to start, I feel fierce and I feel strong. And there are so many wonderful things going on for me, as with the two of you, that's polarizing this kind of dark undercurrent as well. So we're not serving up doom and gloom here. No. There's a lot going on that's just fantastic. There is also this undercurrent. And so that's where I'm going to take this. And I want to start with, there's been, my household's been targeted extremely. And so I'm dealing with some in-house, like I just said, some in-house, like round the clock urgent care. But seriously, bad stuff has happened here, stricken my household, and unusual, absolutely unusual, and more than one event. It just seems to be like a wave. So, but this has led into me going, whoa, this is overlapping what this person's saying, and now this is overlapping what this person's saying, and it's overlapping some of these other people that have passed on recently that some people are aware of, so I wanted to get JJ's foundation here of what she'd been perceiving in Manhattan, and I've been talking about this in my videos personally, artistically, if you know how to read the videos. And I've been talking a little bit on Nox Mente and a little bit in some radio appearances I've been on about some of this. But I'm going to be as clear and concise as possible here. There is a virus. We're under it, and I don't want to be fearful, because fear is what's being fed. It's feeding. So I don't want to present fear, but there is a virus and it's underway. And if you think of it in terms of a mind virus, it's an ET, it's non-human, and it's not specifically like a mind virus. But if you put your mental chops around that idea, it's easier, I think, to inhale and be with. And like all viruses, it can be purged out. So just know this. There is this shift that's going on, and it's happening. And for people that have the ability to see and perceive, it's obvious. And a lot of people in Deep Woo have been doing this and talking about it for some time. But if you start observing people in the world listening to this, the people around you be more observant of the people around you and the people you're encountering in the world right now. Start looking people in the eyes and countering their behavior with what you've known their behavior to be over the time period you've known them. Say a checkout clerk. Every time, has there been a change in the checkout clerk, or your veterinarian, or, anyone, not to mention family members. So,
yeah, it can be people close to you.
Can you fill in for a minute? I have to deal with this. I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay. Yeah, no, I didn't mean to take over, but obviously she needs to take care of things. But since we're getting real, it can be people very close to you, and it can be physical symptoms. I'm not going to get too personal, but
yeah, it's actually, we have a vet change as well. And both Tom and I were appalled the last time we took Lulu in. She has a series of recurring ear infections. And the vet has always been absolutely open-heartedly generous and spends time, but there was a change. She wasn't looking us in the eyes. There was this sense that she was adding stuff on, pardon me, to make as much money as possible. And it just was not like her. And we're not even, we just decided there's no need. We have 3 dogs and we need somebody who's immediate and there. But there's a change right there. And, as I said, I'm interacting virtually insofar as being with people. And it's different to be in a video chat when you're looking into the camera at someone's eyes, because there's something lost in translation. It's very, very different physically. I hear, Niish, are you back?
Yes. Yeah, the eyes are important. Thank you. I think I got him.
Well, that's definitely how you can tell.
Yeah, it's the first thing. And if you notice, a lot of people aren't making contact. So, but there's a difference. So this virus that I started talking about, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago in public, it first came to me. I'm sorry, I just had to move over 100-pound being in here. It was
well, do what you need to do.
No. We're good here. We're good here.
Okay.
And so it started out, and it came to me in the form of an octopi type being. And like I said, it's not a non-human, but sentient. And that information's out there. I was on, Off Planet talking about it and all this. That information's out there. Well, and what they do is they attach themselves, like I think Catholics would, Christians would call it demons, but they attach themselves basically to your head and your spinal column. And mind you, this is how I perceive them. This is how they appear to me. They can be different to other people. We all have a different perception of things. But they take control, and they're feeding off of energy, and what they're feeding off of is dramatic energy of pain, of hurt, of fear, of paranoia, and they're creating it. So they're taking control of people, and they are creating dramatic situations all over the world. This is a global situation. And this also ties into these things that are happening under the cover of darkness. These strange events that are happening, like, say, the blackout in Manhattan, that needs a cloak of darkness, because there's actually, and I have complete conviction in saying these things without any fear of caring if people think I'm crazy. I don't care. There's a war going on, and it involves kind of like a rip in our reality, an interstellar, intergalactic, however you want to view it. And as we know, our reality is so limited. And this is without question. Our perception of light, our perception of environment, it's all very limited. And so there's something going on. I don't have the answers on this. I just know that there is something going on that level, and I'm pulling this information together from myself, observing things and the stuff I've gone through in my life that is lined up with JJ's. I'm connected into some of this stuff. And so the message here, and I can get deeper into this, but the message here is internal martial arts, breathing, remaining calm, and it's a time to, right now in particular, get in line with a healthy diet. Treat your temple as a temple and start to monitor and feel yourself in ways maybe that you haven't before in the past. So this is where really, truly meditation needs to come into play so you understand your voice and not another voice that you think is your inner voice. Because right now, I don't think most of those intuitive voices or hunches that people get, or even just almost like autonomic, out of character things that are happening with people, these are manipulations. And this particular thing that I'm talking about, this viral invasion, is on a whole different level. There is no sense of emotion or empath. It's dry, it's cold, it's cut and dry, it's feeding. That's what's happening. And it needs this. So, and I have said this, the stuff like, I keep using this one example, but the guy who took his daughter and jumped in front of a train, like this kind of stuff, this amping that's happening. Well, I had put in my video Invasion, I'd created this, the whole viral thing, right? That's when I started the viral thing. And it's come down into, and this is not going to make a lot of people happy, but I'm just in warrior mode right now. We need
go for it.
We need to
just do it.
We need to be cautious of what the government pushes. And I hate to say that out loud. So with the dispensaries of marijuana, I am all for marijuana. I'm all for heirloom marijuana. I'm all for old school cut and splice kind of marijuana like that. But this now pushed genetically modified marijuana that is being pushed and legalized is something you need to consider. Why is it okay now all of a sudden and specifically this? So you can't buy from your old school pot dealer, but you can buy from this dispensary over here that's coming, government is sanctified. This is,
right.
Remember, this is the same government that gave how many black men syphilis and just watched how it played out in the community and sprayed DDT on families on film to show, and in food to show that it was safe. This whole Philip Morris thing, and not saying Philip Morris is this, but the movie, so that people have reference to how that went down. That's the only reason I say that. And Bibi, feel free to cut that out. So we got to question why something is all of a sudden publicly available that was always enemy number one. This is an alien. I do think the sacred herbs are all somewhat alien, and I do believe we are the aliens, but this is on a different level. This is being pushed at us, and it's got something attached to it that is allowing for this, like a fungus or a spore, these things to take hold. And here's the key word. And here's the key thing I've been talking about on Nox Mente that has just changed my life. It is allowing people to be open to possession. This is the key word. And now when we start walking through the idea of possession, we've got to look at it in all its context. And part of its context is the Christian church, and all the mainstream religions have a version of it. And part of this is well, the Catholic Church is trying to train more exorcists. They're exorcising whole villages and towns now. So we're seeing that within that culture. And we also know about the fuckery around organized religions and all the trafficking and child abuse and all this stuff. I think now publicly everyone is aware that stuff goes on, where once upon a time in my lifetime that stuff was unthinkable. You couldn't say that out loud. Your priest wouldn't do that. Your minister would not do that, right? And so as I've been, every outing I've had recently, and there've been a lot, I've been trying to get out more because more people are coming in town that I need to see, you know, that are around, and people I haven't seen in a while. There is, in my distinct observation, more of these this is where I open this up bigger. I'm noticing more of these, the mind virus things, like the body snatcher kind of thing. But I'm also noticing, and I don't remember if I talked about it on this with us or not, but I'm also noticing more of these like hybrid types everywhere. It was just one here, one there last year, just a couple. Like the first one that opened my eyes was years ago in Minnesota. And my friend and I were like, this person looks like they just got into a human body. I wasn't even aware of this stuff. It wasn't even in my dimension. And my friend that really brought it to my attention is not having any of this kind of conversation, yet he's the one who brought it to my attention. So it started, I'd say, for me 12 years ago, maybe, or somewhere in that. And now, you know, slowly I started to notice this. Now, every time I go out, I'm seeing more and more of them. They're like hybrids. I think Bibi had mentioned to me visitors that are coming to observe us. And I've heard that from other people talking about these things. I don't know what they are, but I'm observing them. And I'm also observing, to back up what JJ is saying, a great deal of these peripheral shadowy things. And it's new for me. And there, you know, where I think I've seen a mouse just run across my living room, you know, like it's that real. It's not like kind of, maybe it's something. I saw something move across in my periphery. It scuttle across the floor. I've seen many of them. I'm just saying, in the moments like that is a mouse or a rat in my house. What the hell? And, you know, I have a cat in here and I have dogs. And I'm thinking, why would I have vermin in here? And so I'm scuttling around looking, and it just started to happen more and more until I did a cleanse in here. And I'm on a big crystal physics thing right now, which is also part of why I feel fierce and vital and all that. And, you know, that's a whole other discussion. But so I started to notice more of these periphery, shadowy things. And those seem to be amping up too. So with all this said, I tuned myself into recently some of the woo-woo talkers on YouTube personalities, and I've been too busy to stay tuned in. So every time I've talked to Jerry, who does pay attention to all that stuff, he's had hey, have you heard this? Have you heard that? And I have not had the time. And so I've spent a little time now catching up, and there are a few people, JJ knows at least one, that are speaking about the very same thing I'm talking about, and made that video Invasion originally, and then They Are Here to Eat You, and then this last one, you know, I think I made They Are Here to Eat You, or Invasion last year or a year and a half ago. So what I'm ultimately saying is there's something big going down right now, and it's happening all over the planet, and it's acting like a feeding parasitical life form but I do believe it's non-human, and it's some sort of, it could be an AI type thing. I can't get a full read on what the hell it is, but it's really happening. And when I'm looking around and seeing what's going on in the world, it seems to be confirming what I am psychically seeing and feeling. And then the dream experiences, my out of body experiences that are confirming this. And just this week, I've had crazy out of body experiences that where normally I encounter stranger entities. This is not sleep. These are OBEs, which I am not an adept at, but I'm definitely getting better, and I do have them, where I would encounter strange beings here and there. Well, this week alone, I'm finding myself in environments where I'm like one of the only humanoids. So, absolutely unusual. And it's not all fierce. Some are so fabulous and completely like glorious. I'm attracted to them. I want to know more about what this is. Some are completely nebulous, and yet they have this sentience to them. And there's like a knowing. I don't know how to describe it. It's like Star Wars. It's so crazy. And but this invasion that's going on is for real, and it's aggressive, and it's tied into a lot of this anomalous stuff that people are taking for granted as normal weather. It's tied into it. It's tied into these rolling blackouts. There is something that we're not being told, big surprise, by the people that govern us, that's going on in a warlike situation. And I think part of the big shit show that's happening, it seems like for every country, this is all like a big diversion of something major going down. And, New Agers can come in and pull in, shift to consciousness. What I'm going to say here regarding that is, it is super important to find your way into higher frequencies. So if you want to white light me out on that and call me flaky for that too, I'm fine with it. But for me, when I start pulling in this inner martial arts, as I call it, and rising my frequency up, I feel strong. It's your immune system. It's your psychic immune system. And I feel really, really armored up in that way. And that seems to be one of the ways to get your eyes on the situation, get above yourself, literally get above yourself, and detach from the id, the I, the ego, and get into a higher frequency, which is also going to open up doors of perception, which are to be explored right now, I think, to understand all this. So, I mean, that's just a big download for you too right now. And you both are kind of aware of this. I have so much more to say, but that's just kind of,
that's great.
A lot.
No, that's great. And you're touching on really all of the points that I think those who are drawn to listening to us having these conversations are wanting to hear us speak about. And I would like to, first of all, say, Niish, that I resonate with everything you're saying. I respect the place of truth and veracity and wisdom that you're coming from. And I also want to share that I have a different perspective, not that the information is different, but my perspective, due to the nature of my situation being rather isolated, is. Now, one thing I did not say is that for the last several months, I've been doing a deep dive into the mystical paths of all of the creation stories. Well, let's say the mystical paths of the deep, great religions. And I think we can all agree that when you look at these things, there are common threads within all. And it comes down to a sacred wounding. Now, I feel that we are experiencing these anomalies for a few reasons. One, the veil is lifting. And there's so many reasons that have put out there. I'm just going by my own experience in that I see that the veil has been lifting. I don't know if you guys are aware, or if I've even mentioned it, that 5 and 6 years ago, I was working with a woman by the name of Alexandra Metters. She was very popular on the New Age circuit. Her whole thing, galactic connection. She's taken herself out of circulation for now for various reasons, but she was extremely, extremely popular. And her focus was on the virus and entity removal and possession, et cetera, et cetera. So I've been watching this whole thing literally amp up since the end of 2014. And it's all true. Everything that you said, Niish, is absolutely spot on. From my perspective, and what I want to bring to it is what my heart has been opening into, with the idea of each one of us is an aspect of the wound. And I wish I could remember who I heard say this. The reason that our heart is on the left side, although some Mandela effect would say, no, it's moved to the center. I'm not sure where we're at with that. But the reason it's on the left side and we feel our feelings in the center of our chest is because of that original wounding due to all of these ages and ages ago, the catastrophes intergalactically, and how the Earth has changed axis. And there's something known as the fall. Before the Earth changed its axis, we were experiencing our Eden. So we have in our DNA this memory of perfection. And literally, I believe that the DNA now, and there are even the latest scientific DNA work, the genetic research, is literally can measure that we do hold ancestral memories within the DNA. With the veil lifting, we're more prone to experience this. Now, that all being said, and that's just a very, very brief, cursory summary of it. The fact that it's being amped is the other side of it. Yes, it's amping up for several reasons. Our perceptions are changing. Our gifts are coming online in terms of sensory perception. The other side of that is that, yes, I do believe that there are controllers. Who they are, I have no idea. I mean, there's so many theories, but they're there. It is, there are attacks. And what Niish said about resonance and perceptivity, the resonance factor, I feel, is the most crucial thing to focus on, because one thing I did learn through my own experience when I was working with Alexandra Metters, I had an entity removal person remove an octopus from me that had been there my entire life. It was the most amazing experience. I knew what was happening. I was told that if I could meditate or even lay down, it would be best. So I did that. And this was remotely done. I felt the entity being taken out of me. And it was the weirdest, oddest. I was sore for 2 days afterwards, but it was up and out. Apparently, we all have these things from our birth due to that sacred wounding. I could go on and on and on. I just want to come back to, I'm not going to go on and on. I want to come back to the idea of what Niish said, the energetic immune system, emotional, physical, mental. We have, there are different theories out there. There are different philosophical and religious systems. I personally go more theosophical and Indian, Vedic, and Hindu, with the idea that you have the physical body, you have the emotional body, the mental body, the causal body, and the monadic body. These are all the aspects of ourselves that incarnate when we take our own. We are spirits who are possessing these bodies. So there's, that aspect. The more we can observe, go inside and observe these, the more handle we can have on our own levels of resonance. If we're resonating on a low level, these things can more easily overtake us. And the majority of the population is not looking at their shadow. Believe me, they're not looking at their 5 bodies. They're dealing, with struggling, putting food on the table, living their lives. They don't realize there's anything else. And basically the mundane level of reality here on this planet is it's below middle level. It's resonating at a low, easy to get sick on all these different levels, and these things can more easily come in. So you've got that happening with the ability of some of us with our gifts coming online to really see what's going on. And with that, I want to touch in with JJ in terms of your own. Okay, question to JJ, because
yes.
If it's not already clear to you guys who are listening, JJ has these absolutely beautiful high psychic abilities. Now, JJ, my question is: are you noticing a change in the in your perceptions, in your inner perceptions, in your psychic perceptions?
Somewhat. I mean, they've kind of remained the same in a lot of ways, but yeah, I have noticed my dreamscape has changed a bit, and my senses have definitely gotten, I guess, heightened, I would call it, in many aspects, as far as it used to be that I would just mostly dream. Oh my, do you have a bird back there?
Oh yes, we have a crow back
going
here.
cool.
I'm mute, sorry.
A lot of crows today. Anyway, so yeah, it used to be a lot of, actual dreams, nighttime dreams, and premonition dreams, and but as I've gotten older, I've had a lot of recently I've decided that waking time and nighttime dreaming time is kind of all the same thing, but I've had a lot of auditory or clairaudient things coming in sharper to me, and visual. I don't even know how to. It's very difficult to articulate, but yeah, I've noticed things got a lot sharper for me, just in all different aspects of my abilities.
That's and
this year.
That's fascinating. I just want to say that after I asked that question, I realized asking this of JJ and Niish, they're already operating at such a high level. You may not be the right people to ask, because you both soar above average in terms of of these things, right?
Well, I don't want to. Go ahead.
Oh no! Finish your thought, JJ, because mine is kind of like takes away from that. I moves in a different direction.
All right. Well, I certainly, I never look at myself as better than anyone else, but I definitely this year specifically started seeing, certain people have different abilities than others. And this year I started seeing auras on people that I had never seen before, and I've been able to read people in a different way that I hadn't been able to before. And there were certain abilities that seemed, I had things change a bit where things were added on, I guess we would say, like addendums to my abilities, I guess we'll call it. I guess that's all I'd like to add. Go ahead, Niish.
Okay, so I wanted to address a couple things that I had meant to talk about earlier. And I think the reason I'm scattered because of everything going on in here, but one of the things I wanted to bring to the table today was this is not a personal thing. And the minute one starts to think they're personally being targeted, and that does happen, do not get me wrong, and we can have lots of examples. Tracy Twyman's a good one, a good recent one. That's an area though where you need to start really first, and definitely at that point check your shadow, and then check your ego. So this is happening like an algorithm scanning everything. And this is why the whole 5G thing's important, and why I postulate that there's something about electricity that is very significant in all of this. And we're electromagnetic and all that and crystalline. There's a huge tie in there, and that's a whole other show. I'm not just pulling this stuff out of nowhere. There's so much to talk about within all this. So what's going on is there's this algorithm wave that is basically targeting certain metadata. And if you think about that in terms of the metadata is people. So it's this person that is displaying this signature, and the algorithm is categorizing that signature and then dealing with it. So this is why we're seeing a lot of suspicious deaths around with natural healers, with certain bankers that have come forward with stuff, with certain whistleblowers, with certain people digging into certain topics. It's a signature that the algorithm is scanning for. And then once you're in that, there's a wave form that goes out and deals with it. So I just want to put that out there. There's also this thing that has always been my whole life has been devoted to, and anyone that knows me has been devoted to the great mother goddess. And I'm talking on the big picture, not just Sophia, not just the earth, not just Gaia. And, and I always kind of shrug when I say Gaia, because again, that feels so new agey to me. But not just the planet, and I am a believer that all the planets are sentient. But there's the mythos of Tiamat from Sumer, right? Where she was dismembered. And then what was left was, subdued with beer and all that. Well, she's been pulling herself back together, and she's pissed. And she's not having it. This is the dark goddess. This is the form of the dark warrior goddess. This is the vengeful goddess. This is the awakening womb. And this is also the ether, the blackness of the ether is the womb. And so my life has been in service to this from the moment I can first think about anything on a spiritual level in this life. Always. It was natural. It came to me naturally. And I have just followed that instinct to the point where I ran a temple in Des Moines, Iowa called the Temple of the Goddess, and did a lot of work there with all this. So again, this idea of awakening is and where Noxmente comes in and all that too, and talking to people about dreams, this is the stuff that is triggering algorithmic responses. And if you think about algorithmic responses in terms of a biological body with white blood cells and immune system, there's the radical. So it can be seen as good or bad. I don't come from that perspective. Like, that's how I feel about death too. Death is not bad. And illness is not bad. It's just down here in duality, there's a balance. So I'm not coming from good or evil and this kind of aspect of good or bad. I'm coming from just a sense of an ecosystem in balance, and this waveform, this algorithmic waveform that is coming and preventing people from the idea of transcendence, the greater idea of transcendence, which is how we get into that unlocking the code way that we see with some of the great, quote unquote masters, and the unknown ones, the countless unknown masters, because true masters, none of them have said, I am the great shaman. People see it and they respond to it, and then it's word of mouth. Usually they're not in the first person that calls themselves, I just cringe when I hear titles, I'm a shaman. And not that people aren't in touch with that energy. It's just this idea of ego always just pops in. And this is, again, what Bibi's talking, where I resonate with the shadow idea. So I just want to get back to that sense of frequency. Frequency is the key here, and it's always going to be the key. And the lower down we are, we're dealing with this control grid that is you're confronted by it when the communication has come down to the Hegelian dialect. This should be the first clue. When you're interacting with people that are, say, governing or a part of this grid that is coming tight onto us. If you're dealing with the Hegelian dialect, these people have already been affected, that they are not, and they're non-empathic, they don't care. There's nothing in there that cares. If there had been in that person before, it's infected. And so it's easy to be in dramatic situations where you're trying to show your humanness, whereas for the love of this animal or for the love of this person, and you're dealing with very cold, very dry, algorithmic type energy that doesn't care. And in fact, that emotionality just hones you, just separates you out further. So this is where we need to connect those of us that are running on this higher frequency and awakening to all this, because we are coming online, everyone's coming online. You can get with it or not, just like Madonna has been saying. I mean, love her or hate her, she's actually put out some very interesting information once she found out what kind of stuff had been used on her. So you can get with it, you can go to the future, or you can stay in the past. In the kind of way you can sink or you can swim. Ride this higher wave, and it's just a frequency shift. It's tuning into a radio, and what it's doing is wonderful, because all of a sudden we're allowing ourselves to really see outside of our physical eyes, and we're opening up all these bodies of perception that Bibi, you just described. I am a believer in that as well, in those layers. And so what harm is it if you allow yourself open to these ideas of transcending in new ways that open your world up. How great is it to psychically hear? How great is it to see what cannot be seen with the human eye? How great is it to perceive, really truly perceive, and know that it's not some sort of weird perception? How great is this to be in a dream and realize you're dreaming and then awaken within that idea? How great is it to say, this is happening and there's more to my reality than I ever thought? These ideas move us through and out of the state of chattel that we are now in and fighting with. And it doesn't have to be dramatic. It doesn't have to be crazy. In fact, it shouldn't be those things. Otherwise, you're still down in the mud. You're still being fed on. And so that, I think, was that right there was the main thing I wanted to bring to the table after just kind of talking about what's going on. I just wanted to be serious about this invasion's really happening. People aren't tripping. It's really happening.
So important that you're placing attention on this and calling for it. And here, and a question arose while I was listening to you speak about this. One thing that I'll say before I propose the question is that I am more and more every day experiencing the sensation, the knowing of the more I go inside, and I'm really being disciplined about that. I'm meditating and doing my qigong. It really, I need to be centered with what's going on with my daughter, etc. And I have this sense of, Niish, you spoke about the past and the future. These are perceptions. Ultimately, what I get is that there is this point. It is being shown more and more, even on the mundane mainstream physicist scientific level, that we live in a holographic universe, so that every point in the universe is a complete, it holds every other point, right? As our perceptions come online, we become more and more aware. So I have the sensation of and I'm speaking for myself in these, meditative experiences, contemplative experiences that I'm really trying to make available to myself on a regular daily basis, is that everything exists in this single point where it's without space, it's without time. Okay, so there is that concept, and out of that concept, as I was feeling into it, came the question, do you think it's possible that the virus is inherent in the sacred wounding that we all have, in the shadow? And as we come more online, it's amping up because the awareness is able to perceive this thing or these things. So I could go all over the place with that, but I myself get that, yes, in answer to that question, the virus and the shadow are one and the same, that it has been operating for eons on a very, very steady level. But now that so many things are happening in this point that we all share, the perception is being drawn to it. So with that, I'll stop. I just wanted to throw that question out.
Yeah, and it brings in a good point. Everything wants to live. Everything is eating on something else. And this is why I won't subscribe to bad or good apocalyptic, outside of apocalyptic meaning revealing, which is fantastic, but like this scare factor narrative. So the virus is doing its thing. These entities that are viral are doing their thing. That's what they do. They're neither good nor bad. They just are. And so, yes, you say that, it reminds me of when my wolf dog was a baby, and I had never encountered this before. I was so horrified. She had some sort of roundworm infection. I had a very anxious 5 weeks, and they get it from the mother. Right. And I had dogs, I've had other wolf dogs, but I had never seen it like this. Like it looked like the series The Strain. They come out and they're in just hundreds of them, and heads and like moving out of their anus. It's the most gross, horrific thing I've ever seen. I can't even tell you, it almost kind of stained my consciousness. So I took her immediately because it was really just horrific. And it was not like one or two, it was hundreds of them. And when I took her to the vet, and they're like, oh yeah, they get it from the mother, like he gave me the whole idea of how it happens. And that's when he suspected that I might have a wolf dog too. And we took care of it, but it was just still like this idea of they're just living. They're doing their thing. And so are this virus, and so are these entities that people are perceiving now. And I think part of the journey here is for me personally, it always has been, part of the journey here was never to play this weird little game that everyone's playing where la 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 la, I'm gonna go to school, and I want to be a doctor to make a lot of money, I want to be a lawyer and make a lot of money, and then because I'm gonna be important, people will respect me, all that. I never bought into that. Thankfully, that was never pushed on me also. And so I always thought there was more going on because I came in conscious. I came in going, holy shit, what is this? I'm stuck here, I came in aware. And so it always just felt like this weird playtime. Or it still does when I encounter that. I don't have those kinds of friends around me, but in the past when I deal with them in the world where people are really tied into their titles and the things they have, and I'm a Taurus, what I find beautiful I love, and I look for those things in the world. I love old things and all that. Don't get me wrong, I find pleasure in decadence and all that, like anyone else. Beauty is where you find it. Thank you, Bette Davis. So, but I always knew there was more going on. This is not the point for me. It was never the point to play these games. And so I had always been looking for, well, this is a puzzle. It always seemed very clear to me. This is a labyrinth. This is a puzzle. This is some sort of maze, spiral. Like, what's going on here, and how do I unlock the code? How do I realize that I might be dreaming on a different level, i.e. the holodeck, the holographic, the sim reality, which is not how I viewed it back then. Now that just fits so well and so modern and easy to understand. And the deeper into human life I get, the more that reality comes forward. And that this is a big puzzle. And part of that is in understanding that everything I'm experiencing around me as a reflection in the outer world is coming from me. It's emanating from me. Just like it's emanating from you, Bibi, and you, JJ. And in the end, the me is not the important factor. That it's the fact, though, that that's part of the puzzle, to understand that we're scattered in all these little fragments, and to put it back together and bring it back together. It's alchemical. We have so many answers in alchemy, right?
Yeah. I love where you're going with this. Yes. And when I was speaking to the holofractic aspect, that every point in the hologram it contains all aspects of every other point, I also want to add the paradox that every point has individual aspects. Nothing is the same, but there is this point that we all share. That's where it's so valuable to hear your perspective, Niish, and your perspective, JJ, because, we bring our individual perceptions to this meeting place. And, I want to go back to one thing. JJ, you had said that, when I had mentioned that you came online here in this body with very high psychic abilities, and I'm not pointing to a better than or lesser than. I'm getting feedback. Whoa. Whoops. I don't know. I'm going to turn it back to either one of you because I have to check my sound settings.
Okay. Where do we want to go with this?
Well, I'm not getting feedback. I didn't hear any, but
I didn't either.
But she's got the motherboard there. It's interesting, though, that I think I am getting feedback. I feel like this is probably where the conversation wants to wrap. I mean, there's so much here, though, to be said. There's so much more. That's why this is a show. This is why this is our gathering. I cannot stress enough, and JJ, you and I talk about this all the time. When we start heading down the fear alley, we're in the wrong direction. We're moving in the wrong direction. And so many people want to, and no matter how much we say that, no matter how much light we bring to this situation, this reality we're all having, people still hear what they want to hear. And this is what Bibi was just talking about: perception and stance and locality. If there is not paradox, then I'm questioning which phase I'm in, because paradox really tells me that I'm moving forward. You need paradox for me, and this is just my perception, again, very key, pushes me forward. It propels me, because we have the clashing of thought forms, the clashing of ideas that take it from inertia. It moves it forward. And I feel like the spell here is to realize that we are more than this experience, and that is so fucking cliche. But I see people saying it that are it's like empty. It's like puppets talking. I don't know if because
they don't have the experience. There's not, they're repeating the pattern of what's going on around them. There's no experience there. You have experience, and there is no hearing you say that and it, sounding like a cliche. It is experienced by me as Niish speaking the truth. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's all I wanted to add. I wanted to hear where you were going, Bibi, before you started getting the feedback.
I think I have that covered. I think we're good.
Okay.
I'm really feeling revved up and a sense of rejuvenation. I always feel that way when I connect with you guys. But the specifics of what we're speaking of, it's so rich for growth. One, I just want to speak to the idea of the paradox.
Yes.
The ability to hold a paradox and to be with it and to let it be okay, not to flip to one side or another, to have two conflicting ideas be alive within your being is a measure of spiritual growth. In Buddhism, the Japanese koan, where there are these statements that are a real paradox, and you're told to focus and to hold your attention on these things. These are known as ways toward liberation, to experiencing whatever you want to call it, but the oneness, the Godhead, which, again, if you haven't experienced these things, they're going to sound like ideas coming out of, the whole New Age that was misappropriated and stolen from Madame Helena Blavatsky, in my view.
Yes, I think a lot of us see that.
Yeah. And, that whole thing just went really, really downhill. However, there are truths here, people. There are truths in what we've all been talking about. The idea of the resonance and the frequency. Okay. Frequency, I'll repeat what Niish said. Frequency, is key. And you want to not be taken over by fear. But if you feel fear, I would suggest don't push it away. Don't be in denial of it. There are 3 steps that I've learned, and my daughter has brought so much illumination to these things. God bless her. The first step is to allow. Just allow something to be there. If you don't like it, don't push it away. Just acknowledge it and allow it. You don't have to love it. You don't have to like it. If you feel fear, allow it. The second step is, because it'll keep coming back up, these are ancient patterns, and a lot of them aren't even ours. They're in our bones. They're in our DNA. The more we allow, we can accept, and they're not going to get in the way. And that's what these things grab onto, that fear. If we're pushing it away, it's much easier for them to feed. And we just perpetuate the cycle. And because things are amping up, it's going to get worse. Let's go to the word apocalypse. We're experiencing the apocalypse has already happened. It's constantly happening. Well, what does it mean anyway? It just means revelation. And I revel, I revel in the word apocalypse. I think
as do I.
That as well.
So let's revel. Let's rise and revel.
Right. And something else to remember is that I really believe, and it has been taught, but I've seen this in my life, different people came here to experience different things. And some people are here to experience a really, really scary apocalypse. There's something about that story that, and I'm not here to judge it, but I'm certainly not here to experience it myself. I'll tell you that. But I'm allowing that to be happening somewhere. If they need that, if they want that, if that's part of their, that there's this Sanskrit word called samskara. It's like a scratch in a vinyl record. It's deeply embedded, or even the grooves in a vinyl record. They get played over and over again. There are all these concepts floating around. So let me draw it back in. I'm really, really gratified and grateful that we came together today. It's been too long. It's always wonderful to connect with JJ and Niish. And this is a conversation that will be ongoing. I think it's crucial for those who want to, the phrase that comes to mind is make the world better. There has to be a different wording of that. Who want to, share a greatness of words fail.
I'm getting acknowledgement of like the word acknowledgement comes forward.
Right. That can spread, and that will ease the resistance, because when there is a lack of resistance, these things cannot feed. I would like to see that. Now, I'm not speaking about not standing up for yourself or letting something grievous go down where you could physically step in, and that's not what I'm speaking of. I'm speaking about the energetics of our own inner perceptions.
Yes.
They're different things.
Yes.
So may this conversation help to raise the frequency.
Amen
those
to
who are
that.
joining
Yes.
and ours. Yeah. Yeah. And go ahead.
I would
JJ.
I'd like to, I mean, I think that Niish coming on and saying she feels fierce and she's fierce, that's how I feel. I mean, I've been personally attacked quite a bit recently and, well, for a while now. And I just face it and face it fiercely, and it goes away. I'm just like, yeah, bring it. It can spit in my face and rear its ugly head, and I'm just like, yeah, and it goes away. It just cowers away with its tail between its legs. So I think, we need to defend ourselves when it's necessary, and we know when it's time. So, of course, there's a time of acceptance of whatever, but we need to face these dark forces or whatever they are and head on.
Here, 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 here,
Yeah.
here, here. Here's to Kali and Durga and Parvati and Lakshmi. May we, reflect those aspects, and they are our aspects. And I love you guys. We've been talking for a long time,
Yes.
and we'll do this again.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Oh God,
Bibi
yes.
and Niish.
I love you both.
Yes.
Always a great pleasure.
Well, I love you both too, and may all be. May the drama be lessened and hearts grow lighter and health just glow. That's my wish for you both.
Thank you. And I wish and extend that to everyone out there listening that finds our words and feels them.
Beautiful, Niish.
Same here. Thank you so much.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye, darlings. Much love.
Love to you. Bye.